Captain Mason Locke had faced many strange things in his life: alien beasts, asteroid storms, and near-death battles. But nothing had prepared him for what he saw when the doors of the Vylari Palace opened. The alien princess stood in the center of the room, her skin shimmering with a soft silver glow. Her long violet hair flowed down her back. She was completely unclothed. Locke froze mid-step. Her golden eyes widened in shock. "What? How dare you enter?" she said, her voice trembling with both fear and fury. Locke spun around, eyes locked on the polished black floor. I didn't mean to. I was told this was the audience chamber." There was silence behind him, heavy and dangerous. Locke's mind raced. This was his first mission as a diplomatic envoy for Earth. He was sent to build trust with the powerful Vylari Empire. And now, he had probably just started an intergalactic war by walking in on a naked alien princess. Two guards burst in from the side corridor, weapons half drawn. The princess held up her hand. "No," she said coldly. "Lower your arms." The human did not know. Locke remained frozen. He heard fabric rustling. A soft robe was drawn over her. After a few seconds, the princess finally spoke again. "Turn around, Captain." Locke obeyed slowly. Her expression was unreadable, somewhere between confusion and control. She looked regal even now. "You may explain yourself," she said. "I received directions from the AI interpreter. It told me to enter the Chamber of Reflection. I assumed it meant this hall." She frowned. "The Chamber of Reflection is a sacred space. Only the soul-bearer may enter. To see one in that form is—" She hesitated. "It is an act that binds us. By tradition, your presence now connects our fates." Locke blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" The princess straightened her back. "You are not Vylari, so I will explain simply. In our culture, if someone sees a royal unclothed in the sacred chamber, their souls are bound by the ancient code of honor. I cannot undo what has been done." "That was definitely not in the briefing," Locke muttered. She walked toward him, eyes sharp and curious. "Perhaps this is fortune in disguise. You are a Terran. Earth's people are bold, are they not?" "Sometimes recklessly so," he said. "I will speak with the High Council," she said. "You will not be punished. Instead, you will remain here, as my bonded guest." Locke raised an eyebrow. "That sounds like a nice way of saying political prisoner." She gave a small smile. "You could see it that way. Or, you could see it as the beginning of something far more important." Before he could respond, she turned and walked out, her robe trailing behind her like a whisper. Hours later, Captain Locke sat alone in a glass-walled chamber overlooking the stars. A meal tray rested untouched in front of him. He wasn't hungry. His mind kept going back to the princess's words. Our souls are bound. What did that even mean? Earth's translators were advanced, but culture couldn't always be explained by language alone. A soft chime rang, and the door opened. The princess entered, now in formal robes of deep crimson and black. "I thought we should speak." "She," said Locke, stood. "I appreciate that. I'd prefer diplomacy over exile or execution." She smiled slightly. "You joke, but some on the council would demand one or the other. You embarrass the old ways, even if by accident. That gives me power. Strange, isn't it?" He frowned. "Power?" "Yes. By our law, I am now honor-bound to you, which means I can choose to protect you and form a formal bond. That makes you a political symbol. I can use you to challenge the conservative members of the council." Locke was beginning to understand. "You're using me to shake your own government. They believe Earth is wild, uncivilized. They fear your kind will spread chaos. But I believe chaos can also bring change." Locke crossed his arms. "And if I refuse to be used like that?" She stepped closer. "Then I will let you go. I will say it was a mistake, and that my honor is not worth the trouble. But then you will return to your people. We will drift apart. And when the Carricks come, we will fall. All of us. Locke's eyes narrowed. You believe they'll attack? I know it. I've seen the signs. But no one listens. Not yet. The room was quiet again. Finally, Locke said, What do you need from me? She extended her hand. Your presence, your cooperation, and when the time comes, your help in saving 2 civilizations. Locke took a deep breath. Sounds like a hell of a first mission. He took her hand. Captain Mason Locke stood on the balcony of the Vylari Orbital Palace, looking out at the stars. The massive rings of the Vylari homeworld glowed below like bands of fire. The air was filled with the quiet hum of floating drones and soft alien music. But Mason couldn't relax. In the last 24 hours, he had accidentally bonded with an alien princess, avoided execution, and become a political symbol on a planet where one wrong word could mean war. He still didn't fully understand what soul binding meant, but he was starting to feel the weight of it. The door behind him opened. Princess Tissaris walked in wearing a long dark blue robe embroidered with golden threads. Her hair was tied up and she carried 2 slim blades across her back. We are going to train, she said calmly. Mason raised an eyebrow. Train? Like sword fighting? She nodded. The council wants to test your strength. Some still doubt the humans are warriors. Mason frowned. So I'm supposed to swing a sword to impress a bunch of alien nobles? She stepped closer. Yes, and survive. That would be helpful. Training arena. Lower level of the palace, the arena was shaped like a circle, its floor covered in soft black sand that crunched under Mason's boots. Floating torches hovered in the air, casting pale green light across the room. High above, balconies were filled with silent Vylari nobles. Tissaris stood in the center, already barefoot, blades in her hands. Choose your weapon, she said, motioning toward a rack of alien swords. Mason looked over the weapons. Most were curved, too thin, or oddly shaped. But one caught his eye. Short, solid, with a grip that fit his hand perfectly. He picked it up. I'll take this one. Tissaris smiled. Good. That's called a Karath. It's used for close combat. We'll begin. She moved fast, faster, than Mason expected. Their blades clashed with a loud spark. She pushed forward with elegant strikes, testing his reflexes. You're holding back, she said. I'm trying not to get arrested for hitting royalty, Mason replied. You won't, but you might die if you don't focus. She spun, aiming low. He blocked just in time, stumbling back. Sand flew in the air. Mason grit his teeth and attacked, using brute force where her style was graceful. He didn't have her speed, but he had strength. The watching nobles whispered among themselves. You fight like a boulder rolling down a hill, she said, laughing. Unrefined, but powerful. You fight like a dancer with a knife, Mason replied. Dangerous, but pretty. Tissaris raised an eyebrow at the compliment, but said nothing. Their swords locked, and they stood face to face. She leaned in and whispered, You are making them doubt. That is good. Doubt weakens tradition. Later that night, Princess's Quarters Mason sat on a cushion, drinking a strange blue liquid from a crystal glass. It tasted like mint and lightning. Tissaris stood near the window, looking out at the stars. Do you know why I train with blades instead of command from a throne? She asked. Mason shook his head. Because you're not like the others? Because our enemies respect strength, she said. The Carricks fear blood and steel, not words. Earth's dealt with enemies like that, Mason said. We learn to fight smarter, dirtier if needed. She turned. I want that. From you. I want your people's spirit. Mason narrowed his eyes. You mean our chaos? I mean your refusal to die quietly. There was a knock. A Vylari guard entered, his face pale. Princess. Captain. There has been an attempt on the human's life. Mason stood. What? The guard continued. One of the nobles tried to poison your meal. He was caught. Tissaris's eyes darkened. Which noble? The guard hesitated. Lord Sereth, high bloodline. The council is already in session. She turned to Mason. Come with me. This changes everything. Council chamber. The chamber was vast, with a domed ceiling showing the stars in real time. The 12 members of the High Council sat in a circle, dressed in glowing robes. Tissaris walked in with Mason beside her. All voices stopped. Sereth broke the ancient code, she said loudly. He attacked a bonded soul. One counselor, a tall figure with gray-blue skin, stood. Your bond is weak. The ritual was never meant for outsiders. Mason stepped forward. I didn't ask for the bond, but I respect your laws. Someone tried to kill me. You either defend your honor, or you admit your laws mean nothing. Gasps filled the room. Another counselor asked, Why protect the human so fiercely, princess? Tissaris looked around the chamber. Because he believes in something more than survival. He believes in alliance, and if we do not unite now, the Carricks will tear us apart. Mason added, You think humans are wild? Maybe we are, but we've survived things your empire hasn't even imagined. We're not here to conquer. We're here because we know what happens to civilizations that stand alone. Silence, then murmurs, some nods. The lead counselor finally spoke. The princess may keep her bond, but she is responsible for the human's actions. Any dishonor, and both shall be exiled. Tissaris nodded. Understood. As they left, Mason whispered, That went better than I expected. Tissaris smiled. You impressed them, even when you're clumsy. Clumsy? I saved your honor. And I saved your life. They looked at each other, and for a moment, both smiled. But behind their eyes, they knew the truth. This was only the beginning. The palace lights dimmed as night fell across the Vylari capital, but Captain Mason Locke was wide awake, standing in the command chamber of the princess's private cruiser. Beside him, Princess Tissaris studied a glowing hologram. Dozens of red dots flickered in deep space, enemy ships moving like wolves toward Vylari borders. The Carrick's fleet is bigger than we thought, she said quietly. Mason frowned. And your council still refuses to believe it? She nodded. They think I'm afraid. They think you're manipulating me. Mason shook his head. If I were trying to manipulate you, I'd be doing a terrible job. Tissaris gave a weak smile but didn't laugh. Her eyes stayed focused. They're not just coming to fight, she added. They're trying to break us from the inside. What do you mean? Mason asked. She tapped the hollow. A small glowing symbol expanded, a Carrick's symbol, sharp like a blade. We captured a Carrick's spy last night. Before he died, he told us something disturbing. The Carricks are using stolen Vylari DNA to create copies of our people. Mason's eyes widened. Clones? No. Worse. Bioforms. Living weapons made to look like nobles, leaders, even me. Mason took a step back. You mean they're trying to replace you? Tissaris nodded. Or destroy my name by using my face. Mason cursed under his breath. And if your council sees one of these copies doing something dishonorable, they'll believe it's real. And everything we've done, our alliance, will fall apart. Mason folded his arms. So what do? We go to the source, she said. There's a moon near the border, a neutral zone used by smugglers and traders. Our spies believe the Carricks are building something there. A factory for these fake royals. Yes, we need proof, real proof. If I bring this to the council, they'll have no choice but to believe me. Mason smiled. Then let's break into a secret Carrick's lab. Just another day in paradise. Moon Yerex 5, Carrick's outpost. 4 hours later. Tissaris's stealth cruiser landed silently on the dark side of the moon. The surface was dead. Gray, rocks, frozen winds, and no life. But underground, something pulsed. Lights. Machines. Movement. Mason adjusted his dark armor and checked his plasma pistol. Tissaris wore light battle robes, her twin blades on her back. They entered through a hidden tunnel guided by an old Valari map. The air inside was heavy and warm. Alien symbols glowed on the walls. Soon they reached a glass hallway. Below, hidden tanks of green liquid floated strange shapes human-like, Violari-like, unfinished. Mason's stomach turned. They're growing copies. Tissaris clenched her fists. That one looks like my father, and that one, like me. Suddenly alarms blared. They know we're here, Mason said. From the far hallway, Carrick's soldiers emerged. Tall, armored creatures with blade arms and glowing red eyes. Mason and Tissaris fought side by side. Her blades moved like lightning, slicing through enemies. Mason shot fast and hard, using cover and tactics from Earth's long wars. They fought their way to the central core. A huge machine stood in the center, pumping black fluid into tanks. A screen showed dozens of copied faces, some real, some only in progress. Mason grabbed a data drive from the console. Got it. This proves everything. More Carricks came. Too many. Time to leave, Mason shouted. They raced back through the tunnels, dodging plasma shots and claws. At the exit, a Carrick's warrior tackled Tissaris. Mason turned, firing 3 shots into the beast's chest. It collapsed, smoking. He reached out his hand. Come on! She took it, and together they jumped into the cruiser. The ship lifted, off just as more Carricks burst from the tunnel. The cruiser escaped into orbit, silent and fast. Orbit over Violari Prime. Inside the cruiser, Tissaris stared at the data. This is what we need, she whispered. We have their faces, their plans, even their leaders. Mason WW. The Princess Tissaris stood in silence, watching the hologram fade. Her face, her exact face, had returned to the palace and claimed her identity. The High Council now believed she was the imposter. Everything she had worked for was falling apart. Mason Locke broke the silence. We can still stop this. She turned to him, voice low. Not if I walk into the palace now. They'll arrest me, maybe even execute me. Mason crossed his arms. Then we don't go in through the front door. You plan to sneak into the most guarded place on my planet? She asked, a bit of dry humor in her voice. I broke into your moon lab, he said, smirking, and survived you trying to stab me during training. She sighed, half smiling. You are impossible, human. He stepped closer. Listen, we've got the proof. The lab data, the faces of the Carrick's clones. We just need to show the people. Bypass the council. Her eyes lit up. There is a way, but it's risky. I'm in. Hours later, desert wastes of Valari Prime. A sandstorm howled as the small desert speeder shot across the wasteland. Tissaris drove, focused and determined. Mason sat beside her, holding the sealed data drive tightly. Where are we going? He asked over the wind. To the Sun Cradle Temple, she said. It's old, forgotten by most. But deep inside is a sky mirror, an ancient transmitter that can broadcast to the entire planet. It can't be blocked. And the council doesn't control it? They think it's just legend, she replied. But it's real. And if we reach it first, we speak to everyone. They drove through rock and dust until a jagged mountain came into view. At its base, a dark opening waited. They parked and entered the cave. Inside, the air was cool. Faint lights shimmered along the stone walls. They walked deep underground, until the tunnel opened into a vast chamber of metal and crystal. A massive circular device stood at the center. It looked ancient, yet alive, like it was waiting. Tissaris stepped forward. The sky mirror. Mason looked around. Let's hope it still works. Inside the sky mirror chamber, they powered up the console. The machine hummed. Lights blinked to life. A glowing sphere hovered in the air. Put the drive here, Tissaris said. Mason inserted the data. Images of the Carrick's lab appeared. Cloned bodies, blueprints, even video footage of the copy of Tesseris speaking with enemy commanders. The truth was undeniable. This will reach everyone, Mason asked. She nodded. Across the planet, all houses, all military, even the council chambers. He looked at her. Are you ready? No, she said honestly. But I will speak. She stepped onto the platform. A beam of light surrounded her. Then, her image was projected across the skies of Vylari Prime. All across the planet, citizens of every house looked up and saw her. This is Princess Tesseris, her voice echoed. Not the one sitting in the palace. I am the true heir, and I bring truth. The footage played, the lab, the clones, the Carrick soldiers, the fake princess speaking to them. I was cast, out for lies I never told. The enemy walks among us wearing our faces, but we will not kneel to shadows. We are Vylari, and I stand with an ally from Earth who risked everything for our truth. Mason's face appeared beside hers. She ended the broadcast. Let honor guide us, let unity save us. The sky mirror shut down. Silence returned. Tesseris looked at Mason. It's done. Minutes later, outside the temple. But it wasn't over yet. As they exited the temple, ships appeared in the sky. The sound of engines roared above. Mason raised his blaster. Friendlies? No, she said. That's the palace guard, still loyal to the imposter. They ran toward the speeder, but it exploded in a blast of blue fire. Enemy soldiers dropped down from the sky. Blades drawn, faces cold. One of them stepped forward. She looked exactly like Tesseris. Stop them, the fake princess shouted. They are traitors. Tesseris drew her blades. If you want to be me, you'll have to bleed for it. Mason smiled. Let's see who the real princess is. Final fight. Temple grounds. The real and fake Tesseris clashed, sword against sword. They moved fast, nearly identical, but Mason watched carefully. She's mimicking your moves, he shouted, but she doesn't feel them. She's copying, not fighting with heart. Tesseris pushed harder. Her strikes became wild, unpredictable. Like when Mason trained her with human-style tactics. She kicked the fake back and slashed across her chest. The imposter stumbled. Blue liquid, not blood, leaked from the wound. Not real, Mason growled. The guards saw it too. They hesitated, confused. Then Mason stood forward. You followed a shadow. The real princess just risked her life to bring you truth. Look at her. The guards dropped their weapons. Tesseris stepped beside Mason, bruised but proud. Now do you believe? One guard nodded. Forgive us, princess. The rest kneeled. Back at the palace. Hours later, Tesseris returned, no longer as a fugitive, but as the rightful heir. The imposter was gone. The council was shaken but humbled. Mason stood beside her as she spoke to the court. We were blind, she said. But we will not remain blind. The Carricks tried to break us. They failed. She looked at Mason. With Earth's help we saw the truth, and with Earth's strength we will rise. Applause filled the chamber. Later in her private hall, Tesseris and Mason stood alone. You don't have to stay, she said quietly. I know, he replied, but I think I want to. She smiled. You were the mistake that saved my empire. He grinned. And you were the accident that changed my life. They looked out at the stars together. But the war wasn't over yet. The war had truly begun. 3 days after Princess Tesseris returned to the throne, the skies above Vylari Prime turned dark. Carrick ships entered the system by the hundreds, blotting out the stars. Their leader, a creature named Zeltor, sent one message. You kept the fake. Now we bring the real fire. Mason Locke stood beside Tesseris on the palace balcony, looking up at the sky as defense turrets fired bright blue beams. Enemy ships burned, but many more arrived behind them. This is it, he said in the final fight. Tesseris's face was calm. We fight not for power. We fight for truth, for honor, and for every soul the Carricks tried to replace. Mason nodded. And we fight together. She gave a faint smile. Together. Battle Command. Deep, Palace Core. The control center buzzed with activity. Screens showed battles across the planet, sky, land, and sea. The Violari fought bravely, but they were outnumbered. "Princess," said one of her captains, "they've landed near the capital temple. A massive war beast leads them, 20 meters tall. Plasma breath. Our ground forces are breaking." "Send my dragon riders," she ordered, "and prepare the Dawn Lance." "The Dawn Lance?" Mason asked. "Sounds dangerous." "It is," she said. "It's the first weapon my people ever created with human science. Part Earth tech, part Valari energy." "I didn't authorize that," Mason joked. "I didn't ask," she said. They both smiled. Capital Temple. Ground assault. The battlefield was chaos. A massive beast, black metal, glowing veins, and 6 legs, charged through the city. Vailari warriors scattered as its plasma breath melted walls and streets. Then, a high-pitched cry pierced the sky. A group of armored dragon riders swooped down, firing lances of energy. Tesseris rode the lead dragon, its silver wings cutting through smoke. She dived low and slashed the beast's side with her twin blades, leaving glowing wounds. Mason, flying behind her in a jump jet, threw explosives at the creature's legs. The beast roared, it turned, and with one huge claw struck Tesseris's dragon. She fell. Crash. Temple grounds. Tesseris hit the stone floor hard. Her armor cracked. Her arm bled. The beast approached, plasma forming in its mouth. Before it could fire, Mason landed between them. Blaster drawn. "Come on then," he muttered. "Let's dance." He fired non-stop, aiming for the glowing eyes, legs, mouth, anything. The beast flinched but didn't stop. Then Tesseris rose. Blood ran down her forehead, but her eyes burned with fury. "No more lies," she whispered. She charged, leaping off broken stone, blades glowing with ancient energy. With one final spin, she sliced deep into the beast's neck. The creature screamed, stumbled, and fell. Dead. Sky battle. Zeltor's flagship above the capital. The largest Carrick's ship loomed. Inside, Zeltor snarled, "Send the clones, all of them. Let the Vailari drown in their own faces." Thousands of pods dropped from orbit, each carrying a perfect fake. Mason and Tesseris watched from the command room. "This is it," he said. "They're trying to flood the world with copies." "We activate the Dawn Lance," she replied. They both rushed to the palace core, where the golden weapon waited. A long rail, powered by a crystal heart, aimed toward space. "This will destroy the flagship," she said, "but it needs someone to guide the energy beam manually." Mason stepped forward. "I'll do it." She grabbed his arm. "No, it could kill you." "I know," he said. "But I'm not Vailari. Your people need you." She looked into his eyes. "Come back to me. If I can." Dawn Lance. Final strike. Mason stood in the control seat as the weapon charged. Alarms blared. Heat flooded the chamber. Above, the Carrick's flagship prepared to fire its own world-cracker weapon. Mason locked on. "Let's see who burns first." He whispered. He hit.